Hello, this is Hands-on Continuous Integration and Delivery with Jenkins X and Kubernetes. This is Section 4, Promotion and Environments. In this section, we'll look at promotion and environments, testing and approving changes using preview environments, creating Jenkins X dev pods, developing using dev pods, and scaffold and Docker images. Promotion and environments. In this video, we'll learn a little bit about environments. We'll look at automatic and manual environments, ultimately looking at how we can promote an application to production. If we look at the architecture diagram we've been using to work our way through Jenkins X, so far we've seen how we can import applications using our Git provider, how any changes to those are fed using a webhook to Jenkins X, which causes the build controller, prow, to kick off a pipeline. We looked at the details of how that pipeline runs based on its build pack configuration. Now we're looking at this box labeled environments. Environments are independent spaces that we can run a version of our application for various purposes. You can see here that typically we have at least a staging and a production, but we can have many custom environments as well. Now, the reason we have this is that we want to make sure as we develop our application that we can run those development versions, see how they behave. As we make updates to our master branch or whatever our main branch is, we want to test those out in a staging environment, and then ultimately we can control what gets promoted to production. So we have a continuous delivery pipeline set up where we have automated delivery to production, but we have quality control checks in order to make sure we're comfortable with the changes to the application before we push it out to our users. Now, Jenkins X is using GitOps to move applications through environments. So as we demonstrate this, we'll see changes to the Git repositories that manage those various environments. Let's look at an example. We'll start by importing an application. So this is the standard import command you've seen many times now. And as before, I have an application. It's the same application, but I have a new version of it in this directory with a new name so we can keep things clean and separate. We'll go ahead and run this command and we'll come back when it's done. Okay, here we are back and our application has finished importing. We can see that if we run the jx get applications command. You can see that our new application, which is our hello 4.1, is in the list. You'll notice that it only identifies a version that's deployed to staging, and the URL it gives us is a staging URL. What this is saying is that so far, our application has only deployed to a staging environment. It's not yet deployed to production. If we want to understand why that is, we can run the jx get environments command to see the list of available environments. So here we see that we have 3 environments. This is the default for the cluster. I haven't made any changes here. You'll notice that we have a dev environment, a staging environment, and a production environment. Now this dev environment is flagged as being for development, and we'll see that in an upcoming video. Our staging environment is labeled permanent, so when an application is deployed there, we expect it will continue to run there. Now you'll notice the third column, it says that promotion to the staging environment is automatic. That's the reason that when we imported our application, it immediately deployed to staging. We want to have some environment that has automatic deployment so that when we make any changes to the master branch, they will automatically get deployed somewhere so we can test them. You'll notice that the production environment is also labeled as permanent, which makes sense because once we deploy something to production, we want it to continue running there, but it's labeled as manual. That means there's some action we have to take in order to take something from the staging environment and go to production. The order of those two has to do with the order field that you see here. So something goes into staging first and then into production, but because it's manual, it only goes when we promote it. So that's the default configuration for environments. Of course, you can create your own custom environments, use them for any purpose you need to, but you'll want to choose the order and the promotion, automatic or manual, based on what you want the behavior to be. The last step then is for us to go ahead and promote our new application. And we'll do that by using the information that we have in the list of applications. This tells us the name, the version that's currently running in staging, both of which we need. So we start out with the jx promote command. We then give it the name of the application that we're promoting. We now say the version number that we want to have running in production. In this case, we only have one version, but as we make changes over time, we can choose what version we want to run in production. And finally, we identify the environment that we want to promote to. Once we've done this and we run this command, this will cause it to kick off a change to the production Git repository. It will cause it to deploy this version of the application to production. We'll come back when both of those items are finished. Okay, we're back again, and our application has been promoted to production. We can verify that by running the jx get applications command again. As you can see, for this one application, hello-4-1, we now have not only a version deployed to staging, but we also have a version that's been deployed to production. And it indicates a separate URL, which is a production URL for this particular application. So we still have our staging version running. Over time, as we make changes, that might be an updated version of the application. Our production version will stay stable until we promote something new to it. We can see exactly what happened behind the scenes if we go over to the browser. We'll look first at the Git repository. This is the Git repository for the production environment. So this is Jenkins X using GitOps to manage what is currently running in production. When we promoted our application to production, it caused it to make a pull request that merged a new commit into this repository. We can look at that using the list of commits. You can see here we merged in a pull request that identifies a promotion of this application to this environment. If we look at that, you can just see all it needed to do was just add the specific version number, the location where it could get the Helm chart, which we'll look at in a future video, and exactly which version it should be running. So that was the Git repository change for GitOps. That triggered a change to the Kubernetes cluster. So if we jump over and we look at our Google Kubernetes Engine environment, here I'm looking at the workloads within Kubernetes Engine, and I've sorted by namespace to make the list easier to see. You'll notice that we have items deployed to staging, including our hello-4-1 application. In the case of our hello-4-1 application, because we explicitly deployed to production, because we did that promotion, we also see a workload running in the JX production namespace for that application. So that's how it's able to keep those separate from each other. It uses Kubernetes namespaces to keep the staging environment separate from the production environment. That concludes our look at environments and production. We saw what environments are for, having separate versions of our application in order to walk our application through test, staging, and production. We also saw how Jenkins X uses GitOps when we do a promotion to keep track of what version is running where.